our socialization, everything about our socialization process is to validate that. And how we change that is to throw a monkey wrench in the socialization process. But that takes time. That takes people who are committed. That takes people who are cool with not being cool.
Right.
And not being liked.
Right.
And being uncomfortable.
See, that's the problem. I was talking to my man about this. Like, it all stems from financial freedom. So a lot of these athletes, these music moguls, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, they have the power to create change.
Well, they have a platform to it.
Well, okay, you're right. I'm not gonna say power. They have a
platform to do it.
They have a platform, and they have the financial aspect to do it. But they don't do it.
But they bought in, because think about it. Think about this. Imagine if listen, where do all the top football and basketball athletes come from?
Inner cities, the hood.
So imagine if all the top football and basketball athletes decided to go to HBCUs.
That'll never happen because one.
But I'm just saying.
No, I know you're right.
All right, so imagine if they decided to say, you know what? Fuck Duke. Fuck UNC.
That'll never happen.
We're going to go to Howard, Hampton, whatever, right?
It's about money.
So it's about that money,
bill.
right?
It's about that dollar.
So ultimately, they end up going where?
They go to the big
places,
schools.
the big schools, right?
Right.
So now, at the big schools, the boosters and the people there, when they get to those big schools, despite coming from the inner city,
right,
when it's time for them to construct their team, accountant, agent, lawyer, money manager,
that's all
financier,
when they ready to
who do they choose?
It's all white folks.
So they choose white folks who already are entrenched in their community, and they choose these white folks to peel off that money and give them.
Right.
So that's a huge amount of money out of their community, right?
Right.
Because you're not going to convince me that you don't have capable, intelligent, black or Hispanic accountants or money managers or any of that.
I know a lot.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, I was about to say I know a lot.
You're not going to convince me.
Yeah.
But they choose to go the other way because to them that way is access.
Right.
Access.
It's a seat at the table.
To sit at the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To do what?
To not.
To be present.
Yeah.
To be present at the cool ass party.
Yeah, to be known, to have
known,
notoriety,
and to say, yo, oh nigga, you at the party? Yo, I'm at the party too, nigga. Yo, can we go in that door? Nah, nigga, you know we don't go in that door, but yo, we at the party.
Right.
And that's what has happened. You know,
it bothers me because it's like we have so much power. If we can create our own fucking league, to be honest with you, like all these black great NBA players,
we could.
NFL, we can create our own league.
Yeah.
We don't need to be a part of NBA, NFL. We have the money, we have the resources, we have the knowledge to create our own league. You know what I'm saying? And I sometimes it bothers me when these athletes don't know their self-worth.
No, they don't.
They're worth so much more than what they give us.
But it's not just them. Look at the entertainers. The entertainers are even because the athletes want to be the entertainers.
Yeah.
The notoriety that the entertainers have is it's like crack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the notoriety that the entertainers have is like, wow.
That's a fact.
And the entertainers are looked upon even more than the athletes as a vessel and a connection into the black community.
Right.
That's why Jay-Z can end up in situations where he owns Tidal,
right,
or Apple is entertaining buying that, or Kanye is at the top of the news.
Right.
Because they're perceived from Beyonce, they're perceived from these corporations as a litmus test of where the black community is going.
Right.
And what happens more often than not? Those guys are okay. Their family is okay. Their immediate team is okay.
Right.
Their team that's instrumental in decision making are white. And those guys are far removed, and we celebrate them, and then that's it. Yeah. And they're used
nothing
as
ever gets done.
Nothing, So the masses of black people, as a result of social media, as a result of media and information system, they live vicariously through these people, and nothing changes systematically or institutionally amongst black people, the masses of black people. And the masses of black people take the fascination of these people's lives, a fantasy. It's really a fantasy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They take the fantasy, and the fantasy is the moral compass and the attention that these people live their lives amongst. Right. Every day. We see it on social media and shit.
I caused a big stir a while back because I admitted that, and this is a weird thing too, is like, so players were mad at me for saying it. And I was like, why would you say that? You fucking it up for the younger cats. And I'm just like, once y'all realize that these rules that the NCAA made are stupid, and all it takes is for everybody to stand up and say, this is stupid, like, they'll go away. They're their own separate entity. Nobody answers, like, they don't answer to anybody. They're just the NCAA. And they have contracts with the television stations. And so that's what's keeping them in play.
Millions of dollars.
Billions. So if the athletes finally wake up and say, like my dad had a great idea. So say all the top recruits stop going to the big schools, right? So they start going to places like Grambling or some of the smaller schools, right? That would take away the NCAA's leverage, and then you can start paying the players. And I'm not saying that they should get a salary like the NFL. I don't know. Those semantics can be worked out when the time comes. All I'm saying is the NCAA is they're holding everybody hostage by a system that was put in place in the 1930s or 20s or something like that, when the big business of college football wasn't even close to what it is now.
Right.
Yeah. So the sponsorships and all of that stuff, it wasn't even near what it is now. You have the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, you have the Nokia Sugar Bowl. Like, these are companies that are paying millions of dollars in order to have them play under that guise.
Well, it seems to me like that what college is almost like a farm team.
It's a farm team. They don't want to call it that, though.
But I mean, you're pretending that these are students, and they're kind of students. I mean, that you make them sit in class and you make them get a C.
There are cats that play that are gonna go pro in something other than sports. That's for sure.
Do you think that it would be okay if they did it the way they're doing it now, but they pay the athletes and they make school an option?
That to me, we've discussed a lot of that, man, and I don't see a problem with that. And I'll tell you why. And I also think you should be able to get a degree in football, because there are so many jobs that the NFL has, right? You have commentators, you have GMs, you have staff that work all throughout the NFL offices. Why can't you major in football?
That's a great idea. It's a business.
It's a business, but for some reason we're treating it like it's not a business, and we continue. As soon as we wake up and say, this is a business, I think progression will happen, and it always does. But they're just holding on to this circular reasoning of, no, they're amateur athletes. Well, why are they amateur athletes? Because we don't pay them. Why don't we pay them? Because they're amateur athletes. Like, man, grow up, man. Like, it's ridiculous.
So funny. A couple weeks ago, I went back on campus because I also work for CBS, and I do some women's college basketball. Okay. So I went back for a UConn women's game and a UConn men's game. And the funniest thing, I went on campus and I started walking around. I had to call up, I'm like, Tamika, Asia, girls I graduate. I'm like, yo, I can't even believe this campus right now. She like, I paid for the business center and you paid for this one. And we start joking. We like, Richard Hamilton paid for this. And we say that jokingly, being like, as many championships our men and women's basketball has been so dominant, the influx of money that's come to the school, it doesn't even look the same. Wow. Like, I understand now why kids will pay out of state tuition to come there, because you've built this dynasty, you built this campus. Yeah. So when I hear all this crazy stuff, and I won't get into it because I go hard when it comes to we're not going to pay these college kids when you're making all this money and you see it, it frustrates me. So
we don't got to get too deep into it, but that is something that, with this platform that I want to bring
I feel sorry for the NCAA.
Hey,
it's coming after that.
We have a problem.
Hey, Butter's coming. NCAA, just a heads up.
I really feel that, now that the world is moving in a certain pace when it comes to awareness, I think that if we can form to do what we're doing when it comes to things that we feel we need to stand up for, that's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see, it's one of those things where you look at the NCAA and their intentions, have been good for a long time. But when you start peeling back the layers and you start seeing the money, the schools, who's getting paid, coaches that can leave and they don't get in trouble, got to sit out. They can just go coach somewhere else. And kids have to sit out or they have to wait. And all these restrictions, what happens, we start talking about oppression. We start talking about,
welcome to America.
Capitalism. And it's like they always go back. The story is always, okay, we're getting a free education. Well, okay, let's equate the free education that you're getting, that dollar amount versus somebody wins a tournament game, that amount is paid for. And, the biggest hustle I always laugh about is I tell people, for 4 years, my scholarship was paid by a family in Florida that was our boosters. So I was on an endowment. So technically, my dollar amount wasn't coming from a scholarship.
Did you hear?
So there's a lot of things that you can talk about where the system is broken. It needs to be fixed. But what you see what's happening now is the NCAA comes out, we're giving a stipend, we're going to do this. And slowly they'll start doing more and more because you have to, because there is nothing out there that justifies why the student athletes are not being paid something or why money isn't going into a fund so once they graduate that they have some money that's there to even start them off. It's just, it's one of those things where we have to start saying if we're going to stand up for everything, you need to start standing up for students. And the students have started to organize and mobilize. So we'll see more of it happening.
Now,
from a place like Tennessee, which I'm pretty sure, given your attendance, that the women's basketball team is probably a profitable program. If you look at across college sports, with the TV contracts, conference networks, some schools have their own networks. Coaches are obviously being well compensated. I had Jay Billis on a couple weeks ago, who's been a huge proponent of athletes getting paid. Is this something you've thought about? Like, do you think that college athletes should be paid? And if they should, how would that look?
It's interesting because we were having this debate with our rookie, because our rookie came in this year, and I'm 30, so I'm 8 years older than her, which was very hard for me. But we weren't fed in college. Like, it wasn't like we could have steaks and lobsters and whatever. I'm looking at going through facilities. We practice at USC, and I'm like seeing them come out with breakfast and lunch and dinner. I'm like, we didn't get that. We got a scholarship check or a meal check. So I think it's trending towards that. I think eventually the NCAA has a problem, though, because, how do you distribute the money? How do you – is it everybody gets the same? Is it football gets more?
Right.
Is it,
I think that's the tricky part, of course, is figuring out how it gets distributed. Given that there are some profitable programs, let's say a school's football team, and I don't know how it works at every school, but there's certainly times where they use those funds to then fund another sport. Like that's a real thing. But my thing is, like, if everybody is getting a piece of the pie and the product, the people that are actually putting the product on are not, then it's got to change. I really do think that.
I mean, for it to be a non-profit
It's
organization,
a joke.
Is a joke, and you're watching, the heads of the NCAA being paid. I mean, obviously, it's something that's going to have to be talked about, and I think that that's great now that people are at least acknowledging and talking about it.
Football is not a place for like thinkers, and I'm not saying that I'm the only person that has these thoughts, but it's like if you like question authority and you're questioning a lot of things, like football's not the place for you, because if you're inquisitive at all, it comes off as arrogant and it comes off as like disruptive. And I never was. I was always just like, why do we do things this way? Like why like especially like in college, right? So like football has this like weird relationship with coach to player that like you can talk to other men, like you could treat them like shit. So the coach can yell at the player you piece of shit, you're not doing this, right? But if you was working at Home Depot and your boss comes like, you piece of shit, you didn't stock that box, like it'd be like you'd be calling HR. You know what I'm saying? But it's just a weird for some reason in that arena, it's okay. And like I was like, listen, man, if you want me to do something, like I used to tell my coach, like, don't yell at me. Like there's no reason for you to yell at me because like one-on-one, I you know what I mean?
Fuck you up easier than a wolf.
Yeah, man. So it just didn't make any sense to me. Like, why on this field is it okay, but as soon as we walk up this field, you wouldn't dare yell at me like that. Why is that okay? And plus, you a hothead coming out of high school. I mean, I was at least, and a lot of us are, because you just come from those neighborhoods where.
Do you think that's just because they have to control these big groups of super athletes, so they have to kind of posture and yell at them like you would yell at like a guard dog or something like that?
It's cattle, right? So you just have to. It's that same old mechanism of fear, right? So people rule by fear. So you rule with the bigger stick. So that's how humans have done it for centuries. I mean, that's just how they get into your head about, I hold this leverage over you. I have fear. I have your scholarship. I have this. And if you don't do what I say, all that gets taken away. And it works. But for me, it didn't. I was like, but because of that, you're labeled as like a
troublemaker.
Yeah, like that's part of the reason why I didn't get drafted. I found out like the coaches said that I wasn't coachable. I was like, not that I wasn't coachable, man. I just didn't like getting yelled at.
Wow, that's bizarre. I've seen that before. I've seen coaches screaming at athletes that could kill them. And you don't see that in other sports. You definitely don't see that in MMA. Well, in MMA also, like the coach relationship with the fighter is like a father-son relationship in a lot of ways. Like they're like brothers, or at the very least family. You know, that's like an intense bond between.
I'm not saying every coach is like that. But it's definitely a culture.
Yeah.
It's definitely a culture.
Do you think that's changing? Like with this whole Kaepernick thing, and people are sort of aware of people being more socially conscious, more aware of people like using their fame for a platform to voice their opinions on certain social issues. Is that changing?
I think it has to, because social media is just changing everything. It's changing the way we think. It's changing the way situations are monitored, because it's like there's a camera with you everywhere. So, but I think in a bigger sense, athletes in general are becoming more outspoken. Athletes are becoming more well versed. They're really understanding their brand power, and with that, you have to change the way things have been done in the past. Like simple stuff like training camp, right? Training camp used to be 2 days, full pads, and you're hitting all the time. You can't do that anymore because the athletes are getting bigger, stronger, and faster. So if you want your cattle to last longer, you got to take care of them when you're practicing.
Cattle that just talk like that, so disturbing.
It's the truth, though, man.
I know it is. I know it is. That's why it's disturbing.
We get compensated heavily in the NFL. The NCAA is just a whole nother conversation. Those crooks don't pay their employees, but as far as the NFL, you get compensated, and you know the risks. for the most part, you know the risks going into the NFL. Like I chose to do this at a young age.
I'm glad you just said that. Those crooks don't pay their employees, because that is a dark and dirty fucking business. College sports.
I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it, and I don't have anything to do with it. But I watch it. I'm like, that's cool. When you find out how much those fucking schools get from all those people in order to make sure that their team is successful, because the alma maters want to, yay, we fucking won again. And they get billions of dollars. They're a fucking huge business. Man. And the athletes don't get paid anything.
Nah, man. I've told many times. I've told my side of that story, man. I'm not a fan of the NCAA at all.
I'm not a fan either. I think it's stealing. I think they're stealing 100%. From those athletes.
That's what it is. I mean,
you're ruining their careers, most likely.
Yeah.
If you do 4 hard years of college football, what are the odds you're going to get out of that without a permanent injury?
No, I had, I think 3 or 4 of my surgeries came from college. Yeah. It's tough.
And you're playing for free.
Mm-hmm. And you play for. And my buddy.
But hey, you get an education.
And see, that's the thing that kills me, man. When people say that pisses me off, because it's like
they always like to say that.
I hate that. So when I first went to school, I wanted to study astronomy. Like that was what I wanted to study. So I went to my academic advisor, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like it took me like a year to figure out, okay, this is what I want to do. I was in love with the stars and the college. I just wanted to know about it. And as soon as I said it, he's like, oh, you can't do that. I was like, why? He's like, because those classes conflict with the practice schedules and the meeting schedules. And I was like, well, shit. And so I had to wait another year in order to find what I wanted to do, and I ended up settling for philosophy, which was a cool major, but it wasn't. It didn't. I feel like if I would have got influenced by astronomy early on, then it would have changed my trajectory. It would have changed the way I thought about a lot, or I'd arrived to the conclusions that I'm at now a lot sooner.
Yeah, the whole you're getting an education thing. Are you getting a real education?
Hell no. Like,
no?
It's about a month, maybe a month or 3 weeks after the season, before you go into spring ball, which is like you're up at 5 a.m, lifting, running, yada yada yada. But there's like a 3 week period where they leave you alone and you're just like a regular student. And I did not know what to do with my time. Like, I'm like, how are these people not acing their classes? Like, I didn't understand like how. I mean, granted, they were taking tougher courses, but it's just like you have so much time. I didn't know what to do with my time because whereas before I'm up early in the morning, lifting weights, running, then going to class, then after class you get a little lunch, then go to another class, then you come back and you're in meetings, and then after meetings you go to practice, and after practice you got to find some kind of energy to study.